Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan. And today we have a special guest.
James Artville.
Coming back.
Octorok Pal.
Yes. I know, we're getting back together. We're like, you know what, let's just do all these podcasts together. I know Ryan's got an update, but sometimes Ryan would get thrown in the mix where he had to do multiple podcasts on the same movie.
Exactly. Well, I didn't mind it because, sometimes it would be like, here's me fresh out of the movie. Like, here's me 3 days later after having to think about it. But who really wants to hear, 3 hours of, my opinion has changed slightly. Not that much, but kinda.
He was really optimistic on the first one. I don't know what happened in those 3 days. You know what? I thought about the movie. It's shit. Stupid. I don't care. I don't like it. It hurt my feelings. You're like, oh, wow, that was not the same Ryan 3 days ago.
Do I really come across that way? I apologize if I do.
No. It keeps it interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, Octorok Talk is still happening. James and I haven't put out a new episode in a while, and I'm saying it here because I feel like, I'm not saying that everyone listens to Old Man Orange listens to Octorok Talk, but chances are if they listen to Octorok Talk, they listen to Old Man Orange. It's one of those things where we are still going to keep doing Octorok Talk, but it's going to be on a little bit of a hiatus. I may even be on a little bit of a hiatus for Old Man Orange for a period of time, just because I'm about to go on my honeymoon with my wife within a week, and then after, plus I'm moving out of the country, so that's going to take some time to get adjusted. And when we come back to Octorok Talk, it's going to be probably more video game focused. We'll go into the format and all that later, but since it's in the name, and I think people have a certain expectation with that name, we're probably going to keep it more video game. If there's something so big we can't avoid, a Marvel Endgame or the Batman, maybe we'll talk about that. But mostly it's going to be video game focused. So that's what it is going to be moving forward. And we'll probably get an episode in between here and there, randomly, not scheduled. But it's going to go back to being kind of like a bi-weekly show. Bi-weekly show. So, and,
bi-weekly or bi-monthly?
Does bi-weekly mean like every other week?
No, that means twice a week.
Oh, no. No, bi-monthly. So it's going to be every other week.
I think you're right. No, it is every other week, because bi-monthly would be every other week. Sorry, I'm just confusing you. Don't listen to me.
What are you doing?
This is why
I come in. I don't like the show later. Yeah.
You harassed me about my bi-monthly choices.
I feel verbally assaulted, and I need to talk to HR. Imagine if Old Man Orange had an HR.
Wait, it's like you guys spend all your money to have an HR? Well, we thought it would be safe that way. We didn't want to get sued in the long run.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna so we will become, James and I will be doing Octorok Talk again, and every so often, depending on the topic, we'll try and if James are available, we'd love to have you on the show here. But yeah, today we're talking, as you can see in the title, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's impossible to go into detail with this movie without spoilers. So maybe give a heads up on that one.
Well, yeah, definitely. Let's say right off the bat, spoilers. We're going to talk about the film just like if you just went and saw the movie at the cinema and you wanted to jump in and have some folks to talk to. If you want to have some folks to talk to, but they can't hear you and we just talk for you. I don't know if that sounds right, but.
Yeah, it's a one-way conversation.
Yeah, but maybe you're on a road trip or something like that, and you just want to hear some more of, those hey, let's talk about Doctor Strange. Let's talk about that multiverse. Let's talk about where this is sort of leading, because this one almost creates this brand new path of the Marvel and the Avengers kind of road to go down.
It actually didn't shake things up like I thought it would. I was expecting at the end for. I think we're gonna lead into a what do they call it, a convergence? No, what was the word they used when the two Earths collide?
This is what it's like when worlds collide.
I know what you mean. The
immersion.
Emergent, something like that.
Emergent, something like. Yeah. So I was expecting some sort of massive. Reboot, wiping the table. Some players remain, others, were brought in. I thought at the end of the movie, her children would be a part of this reality and she'd get her happy ending, but obviously that was not the case.
Well, Wanda gets her happy reality, or yeah, sort of. Not
but I think the the signs are pointing to a Secret Wars, which, if that's the case, then that's probably what's going to happen at the end of all that. Because, with the multiverse timelines, you got Loki still, season 2, you got Kang out there. I think the next Avengers Endgame massive crossover event will continue with these threads, and that will probably be the annihilation of the Earth 616 with a rebirth of a culmination of everything. And maybe that's how you bring in the mutants. Make them canon by, like a salad mix of everything.
To go off what you just said, James, before we go into the movie itself, and not just kind of like where Marvel's going, I'll say this right off the bat, without spoilers. Overall, I liked the movie. I feel a little underwhelmed, which is weird, because I know the movie's just trying to pile a bunch of stuff on there and get you amped up for the future of Marvel, of MCU. However, at the same time, I feel like MCU probably should take a seat back and do smaller things for a little while. Like a movie like this, like I enjoyed the movie, but I almost feel like what do you do after Endgame? It's hard to top Endgame. So now it's like, well, let's try and bring in all the characters who haven't been here yet. Like, okay, well then what? Well then, like they fight, I guess. But it's one of those things where I appreciate all the Easter eggs and big references and big reveals in this. But at the same time, I feel like they need to make... I loved Spider-Man No Way Home, but I feel like every other Phase 4 movie has just been trying to be a big thing. And I feel like they should probably... Even Shang-Chi started off a little bit more modest, but then by the end, they're in the Chinese equivalent to Wakanda. And I feel like that movie, maybe that's something you do for the second or third Shang-Chi movie. Maybe the first one, they're in like San Francisco, and then I don't think they went to Shanghai, but they're in, I think just keep it in the real world, and they're fighting crime lords and that kind of stuff with a little bit of sci-fi shit happening here and there. I think they just need to tone back and not have so many big event movies like this, because after a while it becomes a little muddled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could kind of see what you do mean by that, because there really hasn't been a regular sort of toned down one in a while. They've all kind of been this. I will say Doctor Strange, I think what this one, it's kind of its core thing that it's really going for is just saying that, hey, there's this multiverse. I know you saw it in Spider-Man, but let's try to explain it a little bit more and confuse you a little bit more all at the same time, just in case you just walked into this movie. That's all I thought about. I was like, if you walked into this movie, you're like, I've seen like 3 of these Marvel movies. I'm going to check this one out. This one would be so confusing, but it's one of those ones where I think the whole thing is just being like, here's the multiverse. We're going to show you here's the other really big characters that never were allowed to be in these Marvel movies yet. So here they're kind of coming in. And I think the big build-up is, I know there's, Thanos was one of those ones. I guess how you sort of top Thanos is you got Galactus, and that's where you go. It's like, here's a guy that's even bigger. You know what I mean? And I feel like the long road for like maybe the next even 10 years is to build up to Galactus. But
Galactus may be bigger, but he's still purple.
Purple's awesome. The GameCube is purple.
And blue.
Don't you ever deny the purpleness.
I'm just saying there's a theme going on.
Yeah,
with
purple.
And purple is evil. Look at Agatha's magic. That's purple.
Yeah, it was purple.
When we get to the next saga, it's like, who are we going against? We're out of purple people. No, we're not. Yeah. We just own the rights to Grimace.
Yeah, the purple people eaters.
That's their next big baddie. He's purple.
Yeah, but I think that's just almost the thing here is that opens that sort of dimension. It opens kind of like now the possibilities, because I think it was almost like the shock value of this film is like the big spoilers alert is that, by the way, we could do Fantastic Four, we could do X-Men, and we got these other alternative characters we can do. Pretty sweet, huh?
I guess let's just get
now they have the rights.
Yeah, that was kind of. I felt like that was like the ball drop was just to have that, which I think would have been almost even better if they would have really like landlocked that and not even had any like teasers in those trailers. Just like literally keep that 100% out, and you know what I mean.
Well, they put Xavier in the trailers because you could tell it was Patrick Stewart's voice, and then you saw a hand rolling by in little Jetsons wheelchair. So it was kind of like, all right. We heard there's rumors he was going to be in it, so that seals the deal. I think I would have been surprised at John Krasinski as Reed Richards, because that's a role they've been talking about for years, and he was he was like second in line for Captain America, and then they said, "What about Reed Richards? We'll get back to you on that." And it's just this thing they've been teasing and talking about, and then this movie got like a couple early screenings or early releases elsewhere, and I'm just browsing through YouTube, and without looking at it, I just see something, Wanda kills the entire Illuminati, and it was like, wait, what? Because you know that thing where you pause for a minute because your brain is still processing that, and it was just like, I see John Krasinski, and then like it goes in the autoplay things I'm watching on my TV, and it's like, oh, you can't. Oh, you motherfucker! You know, like, first Shadow the Hedgehog, now this, motherfucker! You know, anytime a big movie comes out, some fucking little cockstain has to pull their fucking cell phone out and post it out, and I'm not even looking for the fucking thing. I'm not looking for spoilers, it just pops up. Sorry, I know that happens every big movie, but I just had to get that out of the way.
I'm glad I never see that. I just have to say that. I'm glad that never pops up on my feed of any kind or something like that, you know. I mean, I know we're talking spoilers here, but we give a warning, and our title has nothing that says that. It just says, movie review, Doctor Strange 2, you know, simple, easy, effective.
I wanted to throw this out there. As a sequel to the first Doctor Strange movie, how does it hold? How does it... If you have never seen any Marvel movie and you just watch Doctor Strange 1, and then immediately after you watch Doctor Strange, you know, essentially 2, how does it fare? Because I think if that was the way that you watched this movie, having no knowledge prior except for the previous Doctor Strange movie, I think nothing will make sense.
No.
Nothing.
No, because that was the thing I thought about this movie. This movie is one of those ones you have to see every movie pretty much to kind of like really deep dive into it. And I think it's actually better than Doctor Strange 1, but I will say if you just didn't watch any of the other Marvel things or anything like that, it definitely is one of those ones where you're going to be lost, you're going to be confused, you're going to be like, what? Like, especially even if you're not like the biggest, like, you know, Marvel fan, so you don't just have this knowledge of all these characters. You might be able to recognize, oh, there's Professor Xavier, but beyond that, you know, you might not even, you know, recognize that, hey, that's, you know, Mr. Fantastic right there or something like that, you know, just depending on how much Marvel you know. I mean, I'll even say in this one, because I never saw that Wanda show, like, that was one of those ones, there were some things there, I'm like, I feel like there's something I'm totally missing here, because I'm like, when did Wanda become all crazy all of a sudden? Because I did not know any of that, so I was sort of piecing that together as it went on, and even some things, too, like, I thought that were weird, was like, she's going way out of the way for these two kids that aren't even her kids. Let's be honest. That's almost kind of, that's like literally like being that stalker person driving by in your van, like watching someone else's kids get out of the elementary school and being like, that's my kids. I want you to be my boys. You kids like ice cream. Come on in the Wanda van. Well, yeah, I know it's not real, but if you believe it's real, it will be real. Come here, my sons.
I wish she talked like that. Like she just eats a pack of cigarettes for breakfast every day.
Just drive, start, you piece of fucking shit. Like, did you create this out of your own magic? Yeah, but I created a shitty van to keep part of the illusion.
To keep it in theme. She also wears a Hawaiian shirt. The settlement didn't go so well.
She got a Hawaiian shirt, fucking overalls underneath it. Only one shoe on.
Wanda is from Florida now.
Yeah.
Sorry to any Florida. No offense there. Sorry. I know we have some friends in Florida. Sorry about that. You know.
Yeah. I feel. But it's just like you just picture Hulk kind of being like, "See, let me tell you, this is why we got rid of her out of the Avengers."
Well, the thing about Wanda, because Spencer, like you said, like because you didn't watch WandaVision, so I'll say, WandaVision was a pretty good show, and if there's anything, my biggest complaint about this movie, it's the way they handle Wanda. And the way I say that is because in WandaVision, it's all about grief. And the short and simple of it is she is distraught after losing Vision and kind of just working through that. And then she decides to create her own reality. And sitcoms were an escape for her as a child. So every episode's a different generation of sitcom and a different type of sitcom. And it starts off kind of funny, but then there'll be these weird dark moments. You're like, oh, she's altering reality around here, and people can't get out of it, and you're stuck in it. And then it comes in terms like, I can't do this to the world, and I got to stop this other evil witch over here. And then we learn, oh, she's actually the Scarlet Witch, and she has this magic book and whatever. And it becomes this big, like, closing the book on grief. Like, it's always going to be there, but she's strong, and she's going to live through it, and she's going to have... And within that, she had kids. She had kids within that show, because she created these kids. And then, in this, it's like, oh, well, the Scarlet Witch part of her brain took over the rest of her. So it means, like, all right, so we got to kind of retread a whole season of a TV show again. When I was like, I didn't think she was going to be the main villain. I figured at some point she'd do what she wanted to do, and she and Strange would fight, but I didn't think she'd be, like, the main villain of the whole movie, really.
Yeah, that actually threw me for a curve, too. I just wanted to say, is that I didn't expect her to be the villain either. I thought that was going to be like, oh, that's just going to be one of those early battles, you know, like 1/3 into the movie, and then they're like, you know, just that classic superhero thing, okay, we knocked the witch out of you, so let's get back to real work.
She's front and center on the poster.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. Posters can mean so many different things.
I felt the same way as you, Ryan. And I've heard it explained that it was the Darkhold that tainted, I guess. She's right. At the end of the series, she did excuse me. She did overcome her grief. But then she opened the Darkhold. She heard the voices of Tommy and Elliot. Oh,
Other one. I don't...
Yeah, Billy and the other
Children.
Billy.
Oh yeah, no, Billy and Tom. Yeah, the two kids. And temptation, I guess, you know, to take a look and find out where those voices are coming from. So yeah, the Darkhold is basically the reason why she appeared to go, you know, take a step backwards. And this movie paints a pretty clear theme that simply reading the Darkhold creates an everlasting effect on you, for the worse. There's once you read it, you pretty much condemned yourself. Hence, at the end, you know, even though Wanda has essentially, you know, destroyed the Darkhold, the Tower of Doom, I guess, you know, and all of the other Darkholds across the multiverse, you know, vanish away. The fact remains that Doctor Strange still, you know, read and used the Darkhold spells, and therefore the Darkhold energy lives on inside of him.
Well, it was also... I do appreciate they essentially made her a Deadite from Evil Dead. I thought that was cool. You know, Sam Raimi, it was very intentional. However, I do think that maybe they should have reached into the toy box and grabbed a different villain, and maybe she could have had a moment where she, like, fought Strange or the Illuminati for whatever reason. But it's also one of those things, I know in the comics she started off as a villain and then became a good guy, and sometimes it goes back and forth, but majority of the time she's good. I just honestly feel like that this is just because the very thing that brings her back from being a bad guy is mostly the same thing that happened to in a different way, but more or less the same thing that happened in WandaVision. It was just like the love of her family, whether it really is her family or not, you know? So that all just seemed kind of like to cheapen the whole series of WandaVision, which isn't my favorite show. I liked it. I thought it was a good show, but I mean, it just seemed kind of, what was the point of WandaVision if it just happens again 3 months later or whatever, you know?
Well, and I know the thing is when you have movies, the downfall is that's why a lot of times when they have TV shows, they kind of ixnay some of the events in the shows just because it's not that they didn't happen, but you can't really have it tie in the because they always go like, well, what if someone only watches the movies and they never saw the show, you know? And that's why almost nothing is ever really tied like 100% in with the show, like as like a direct sequel or anything like that. So I know that they always got to kind of explain that there. But it is kind of that weird thing that, I don't know, because I was just watching that, I was like, that's why I felt like I was missing something, because I'm like, I almost have a hard time believing somebody, it's like, she's going after two fake children that aren't even hers. So it's like, where's this real like love connection thing? You know what I mean? You just have dreams about him and stuff like that. And it's just the fact like you're gonna go literally murder somebody else's entire dimension just to get your two fake kids back that aren't even yours. Like that is like almost like, I don't know. It's like, I know she's controlled by the book and so on like that, but I like that. That almost makes her feel like, I mean, I guess you touched the book and you got deep into it and so on like that and so on. But it's just like, really, you're gonna literally brutally murder everybody? And I mean, Scarlet Witch is powerful, but like sometimes it makes it feel like she's a little too powerful, because like literally like you get the Earth's mightiest warriors over here and it's like they just like pretty much go down like they slipped on a banana peel.
Well, they also make it out to be like in WandaVision as well. I mean, it's true in the comics and in the movies. They often mute how strong they cripple them. They make them not as strong as they are in the comics majority of the time. And she is that strong in the comics. And in the WandaVision, they flat out say it, and they come out and say, oh, because, when they first introduced her in Age of Ultron, it was like, oh, she was experimented on. Now she can do weird magic-y shit. And then WandaVision comes out and says, no, that actually just kind of helped unlock her ability. She always had this ability.
Okay.
And she could always alter reality, and just things as it went on, like basically Vision dying was the catalyst for her unlocking her power even more. So it's just one of those things where it didn't like kill it for me. Like I still enjoyed the movie. Like if we're going off Leonard Maltin rating, like out of 4, I'd probably give the movie like just a 3, like a solid 3.
Yeah, well, yeah, I liked it quite a bit still. Like I still actually enjoyed it more than most Marvel movies I've watched in the last while. But
I guess I mean I didn't really go in with a bunch of expectations of what this movie was going to be or the format. I'm just surprised that, despite the name Multiverse of Madness and the bombshells they drop in this movie, I guess I thought it was a little kind of like somewhat simplistic for what I thought it was going to be. And we'll get into that. I've been talking for a while. I'll shut up and let you guys talk.
Well, just because you mentioned the multiverse part, I just want to say that is I actually kind of I was hoping they were actually going to go to a lot more different worlds. Like I thought that was
Same
like
here.
I thought this was going to be one of those like almost like a road trip traveling movie where Doctor Strange and America Chavez just literally go like just to different dimensions, and that's where you start seeing all the like kinds of other weird places and things like that. And there's a little bit of that for like a split second, but other than that though, it kind of just sticks to like Doctor Strange's normal world, the one we always watch, and then the other alternative world, where we got Professor Xavier, and they got the Fantastic Four and all that stuff kind of going on there. Pretty much just feels like could be almost called like, and we stepped into the Sony world real quick, or the Fox world. I mean,
what if they just like we stepped in the Sony world, like Venom's there, like all right, let's go. No.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Like he pulls up a microphone, like I have jokes.
Hey.
Like, no, we're good.
No, well, take me with you. Oh.
Morbius, like, did I miss him? Shit.
Morbius, if you just gotta stop delaying the movies, and maybe you would have made it in time. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Will I ever see Spider-Man? Well, maybe. I don't know.
Michael Keaton comes running. That's my ride. Fuck.
Damn it! I missed the last Spider-Man movie, and now I just get stuck in cameo roles in these Sony ones.
Yeah, if you were to count them, I think, there's only three universes that they spend any significant time in.
Yeah.
The third one being the dark strange one where the universe is already on its way out.
Oh yeah, I forgot. There's that one. We sit in the castle, just being like, I'm just kind of holding the last bits of it together. Don't go outside. Whatever you do, don't go outside.
Well, I will say that there's that thing where Marvel did a pretty good job of making it so you could watch these movies. Because if you look at like probably phase up to like the end of phase 2, you could probably watch majority of these movies and just kind of watch the main series, and they might make a reference to something, But you could, I think people could generally watch Avengers 1 and Avengers 2 without seeing all the other stuff and just go like, well, I mean, they're superheroes. I kind of know, I've at least heard of the Avengers. I could probably parse this together. Where phase 3 and onward, it's just like, oh, you didn't see all that. Even more so now, it's like, oh, you didn't watch our cartoon straight to Disney Plus series? Oh, well, you're not going to know who Captain Carter is. You're not going to know who evil Doctor Strange is, So it's one of those things. I even think that was a different Captain Carter, but
Well,
still,
I feel
at the same
Captain
time.
Carter, you could still kind of, as long as you saw Captain America. See, if you didn't see Captain America, you'd be like, who the hell is that lady? But as long as you saw Captain America, you'd just be like, oh, in this alternative universe, for some reason, England gets the super soldier, and that's what you would just do. You'd be like, I guess that's what happened,
Yeah. I still think that's a different Captain Carter just because the world that she landed in was different back in the other one. But still, it's just kind of a cool little reference. And same thing with evil Doctor Strange. I don't even know if that's the same Doctor Strange. It might be the same. And it's not the same evil Doctor Strange? Okay.
No, I think that whole universe is almost, I hate to sort of say, I think it's a throwaway universe. Because that was the whole reason why they go there and just brutally murder everybody and with no remorse.
Yeah.
This is the third time that you see Patrick Stewart's Professor Xavier perish on screen. 3.
Do I get to die? I only sign on if I get to die. Why do you say I just want to die on screen?
I want to be like Harrison Ford and die, but you just keep bringing me back.
I think that's actually one of the reasons he came back, because he would refuse to play the same Xavier, because he that was the send off for that Xavier that he'd played, the one that was featured in 5, 6, 7 movies, so that Xavier had an ending. Therefore, I think the caveat for him returning would be to play a completely new Xavier, one that we haven't seen before. And given the aesthetic, the green jacket and the yellow wheelchair, it might have been the Xavier from X-Men 96.
Yeah, well,
they even had the music cue for it.
Yeah, they did.
No, as he rolled in.
Yeah, I mean,
he just has that playing every time he rolls into a room.
And I feel that was almost more for a look, but I think it is kind of cool that it does have it. I mean, to top it off, they even got 70s Captain Marvel in there, too, which would have been even more amazing if she had, like, that afro and, like, the disco kind of looking outfit. But it was still kind of neat to see that, like, there's the different one there. And then they had, what's his name from the knockoff mutant groups. Yeah, the Inhumans.
Here's the funny thing about that. Everyone's like, oh my god, Charles Xavier is there. Fucking 70s original Captain Marvel. That's a deep cut, but people are excited for it. Oh, and then we got Reed Richards. Oh my god, this is Peggy Carter. Peggy Carter is Captain America. What about Black Bolt? Fuck Black Bolt.
Well, it's like, I don't know, the Inhumans are such like the weird, just like
fuck them.
It's just because they're like, the Earth was poisoned with, there was cars running, and it's giving me, I had to use my inhaler too often, and it's just getting tough, and then the sun was getting too bright, so we're like, we're gonna go to the other side of the moon where it's safe, and people don't touch you in the street. Like, that happened to you? Like, well, no, but I kind of wish it did.
Look at Medusa's hair. That's a lot of hair, and conditioner on Earth is really expensive. So we gotta, and I don't like I can't talk that much. So it's just like so it's like one of those things. Like, I never gave a fuck for the Inhumans. They've been trying, and apparently the guy who was the guy who played Inhuman. It was the guy who played Black Bolt in the short-lived Inhumans TV show. So
that's kind of cool.
That's cool. They even gave him the proper suit rather than being a guy that just dressed in black and then had the little icon on his shirt or whatever the fuck. But I mean
the fork on the forehead.
Yeah,
he had the fork on the forehead or whatever the fuck. Yeah, so it's like, I just don't. I mean, I appreciate he's there and they committed. At the exact same time, like, I don't give a fuck. No, I mean, it's the Inhumans are like knockoff X-Men.
Yeah.
I think my problem with them is they've been trying to make the Inhumans such a thing for so long. It's just like, dude, no one gives a shit.
They're like the Legion of Marvel.
Kinda, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, it's just like a DC. It's like, no, don't bring Legion. No, you brought Legion in. Damn it. What? Okay, that's how I feel like the Inhumans is. Like, no. Remember when Magneto thought it was going to be a good idea? He was out there floating on Asteroid M. He's like, hey, there's some other fucks up here. Let's use them for my army. Worst fucking idea ever.
I think it really says a lot about their like how they're not focusing on the Inhumans, because Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, in the comics is an Inhuman, and in the upcoming Disney Plus TV show, I think from what we can see in the trailers and the origin of her powers, there isn't going to be a Terrigen mist cloud. There isn't going to be an activation of her Inhuman gene. I think she's getting her powers through some other means. So that's a deviation from her character origin story. So she's no longer going to be an Inhuman.
Well, going off what you just said, James, I have a massive collection of Marvel stuff on my bookshelf. And what you just said, I never knew any of that until this moment. So if I know about the Inhumans is they live on the moon, one of them doesn't like to talk, one of them has long hair, they have a big dog. That's what I know about the Inhumans. Now, if that right there is like, I mean, if they can get like Inhumans in there organically, or just make me give a shit, if they make an Inhumans movie, I'll probably check it out. But I mean, it's just they're trying so hard to make a thing out of them. And Spencer disappeared. He'll probably pop back on in a minute here. But
he must really hate the Inhumans. He's just like,
yeah,
I'm not going to listen to this nonsense.
I'm not talking this pro-Inhuman garbage, this pro-Inhuman propaganda. No. I mean, if they can find a way to make it fit organically, I say go for it. But I just haven't seen that yet. Now, I guess just so we don't get too much on where Marvel's going, because I know we're going to talk about that as it goes on. I guess strictly Doctor Strange, there is this thing in this new movie where, because we were talking about how they only stopped at 3 different universes, really, other than just passing by. And I almost thought, kind of going on, okay, you're back.
Yeah, sorry. At least it just continues. When there's 2, it's not like you get stuck with 1.
Yeah. Just going off, Spencer, going off what you said, because I think you said they only stopped at 3 places, or maybe it was you, James. I honestly thought, because when you say Multiverse of Madness, that's obviously alluding to In the Mountains of Madness by, like, H.P. Lovecraft and all that, and Sam Raimi's known to be a horror guy.
And also the John Carpenter movie, because that's what I thought of.
Yeah, in the Mouth of Madness, yeah. It's one of those things where what comes to mind when I'm thinking they're going to multiverses and things get more fucked up and more weird, I'm almost thinking they're going to get to this multiverse and shit's fucked and they got to hurry up and get out of there. And they keep on thinking they're back in the right universe, but things are more worse every time in different ways. Now, I'm not saying use that as an opportunity to bring in, like, this villain or that villain or this evil version of a superhero. You don't have to do that. You don't have to pile on the fan service. But that's something like that came to mind just from hearing the title. Just everything they go to is just a more destroyed world. But it ends up being like, oh, we're in this world where red means go, and I have to I gotta watch Bruce Campbell smack himself. Okay, and then the Illuminati's there, and then we're in the fucked up world, and then we're at the end of the movie.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like I guess, like you said, Spencer, I thought this would be more of a road trip movie, and I thought we were gonna see more things, like kind of like when you play it's not as much of a horror game, but when you play BioShock Infinite, how you're just hopping world after world after a while, like, oh, this happened. You probably hop into just about as many worlds in that one as they do in this, but at the same time, it felt more chaotic and more of just trying to piece together and figure out what's going on, where this was all pretty straightforward.
The original cut, I say the Raimi version of the movie, was going to be 2 hours and 40 minutes long.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So there was 35 minutes of cut content. So, for all we know, there may have been more multiversal traveling shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
And for one reason or another, they thought that it didn't do the film service.
I don't know. See, I feel like this movie felt a little rushed. Rushed, and not a lot happened at the same time.
Well, there was a significant amount of reshoots. I think, as a matter of fact, they had like 6 weeks of reshoots, which was almost as long as the original production to begin with. So it's almost like they filmed an entirely new movie at some point.
Wow.
Well, and the weird thing I kind of think of is just like, this is the perfect example of the movie where you could just literally have those fun, just like character drops over and over and over again. And as they're going through different worlds, be just like, oh, well, here's an alternative like Iron Man. Oh, here's an alternative Hulk. You know what I mean? Like, and just small stuff like that, people would just go apeshit for. I mean, they already go. Maybe they felt that with like having, once again, Fantastic Four, Professor Xavier, and so on, that's already pretty sweet as is. But I felt like when you title your movie The Multiverse of Madness, you should really just, that's where you could just drop those Easter eggs galore in it. You know what I mean? And just really just flesh it out. As I said, just go to all these alternative ones. And they don't have to be necessarily just weird worlds. They can be like those kind where it's just slightly alternative. Because sometimes I feel that is almost more interesting than trying to have like a world that's like completely different, where it's like, oh no, well it's just slightly different. But then you're trying to piece like, well, what is different about this one? You know, and it gives a little bit more mystery and intrigue. And then you kind of see, then there's like, oh shit, there's like a twist. You're like, oh, that's really messed up.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I think first and foremost, all three of us are biased. We're all comic book readers. We're all nerds. We're all immersed into the culture. So we're looking for Easter eggs and references and little things like that. The common average normie, I would say, is the bulk of ticket sales.
Oh, definitely.
Just statistically. So many of those references will be lost, and it might just come across as just a jumbled mess of just confusion, I guess. Madness.
Yeah.
No, that's how I felt with Wreck-It Ralph 2. I thought the movie was basically a glorified commercial of, here's all the shit Disney owns.
Yeah.
And let's just throw it all in, a single movie, and it's memes the movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And so maybe that's how maybe early test screeners felt the same way, where it was just reference after reference after reference, that maybe the story suffered as a result.
Well, and I was thinking maybe less reference, but I mean, this is what you do. The hit mom and pop in Oklahoma, you get them with you use the characters they already know. So you can just literally pick an Avenger and just be like, hey, here's just him or her in just a slightly alternative version. You already know the actor, you know what I mean? Like, you know who you're coming into, and just do that kind of stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be, deep cuts. It can just be like, oh, well, that's kind of cool, or something like that, or oh, well, here's just some other kind of, lands that they can travel to. And I just feel if you're kind of globetrotting and so on like that, you could just kind of go into just some neat locations and so on like that. But granted, I mean, once again, maybe this being, in a sense, an in-between movie. It's weird because it's almost that mixed match of where it is it's the filler movies, because that's always how I feel those in between Marvel ones sort of are. So they probably don't give them that same budget or anything like that. They just go, okay, you're here to explain two things really at the end of the day. That there's the multiverse is deeper, and Wanda's gone crazy. So explain that. We'll show some new characters off in the process, saying that we have the rights to this, and that's really your movie. That's all you have to get accomplished in this, And then I feel then there's the big movies where it's oh, we're gonna have a lot going on here and something like that.
Well, also the thing. Oh, good Spence. It's James. Sorry.
Go ahead. Your turn.
Well, when I say going to other universes, I'm not saying now let's see Tom Cruise is Iron Man, but he's evil. Now let's see Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk again. I don't mean all that kind of shit. I mean more of that stuff would be cool, of course, but more on the idea of in a mad dash, because whenever she does her power, they don't know where they're gonna end up. So they end up somewhere, and we gotta talk to Doctor Strange of this world. Okay, hey me, how are you doing? Okay, cool. Oh wait, you're evil too? Shit! Yeah. Let's get the fuck out of here. And maybe they get some more information in there. They don't know where they're ending up, and then every time they go somewhere, it goes from bad to worse, and in a way you don't expect. I know that's easier said than done, but Sam Raimi is both a very visually creative and narratively creative guy, so I'm sure that there's plenty of things they could do, but I'm sure had the mouse going in all right, keep this shit PG-13, all right? You hear me? I gave you your fucking zombie strange at the end, so don't give me any fucking shit! So...
Yeah, exactly, just having the fucking short leash and everything like that, but, or even just, I just think even just to change up the location looks, it's because we have the ability now, what if they just went to the Savage Land just for a moment? I know that's an X-Men thing, but it's not we're going deep diving into the Savage Land. It's just a brief, hey, by the way, here's this. You know what I mean? And just, because that was one of those ones where you could show some kind of cool, dinosaurs and creatures like that and so on like that, where you're just oh, whoa, this is, we've never seen this before in a Marvel movie and so on like that. And then for the people that were kind of in the know, they'll be what the fuck? They're showing X-Men stuff? You know what I mean? It kind of goes wait a second. Maybe they got the rights to that. And then you start thinking about it as your head goes on, and then it kind of goes on farther. Or just even different locations of kind of beyond just the standard, hey, we're in a city.
I just added a little fan script thing. I'm just going to say this real quick, and this isn't saying, you're marking down points for this thing that I just thought of just now. But they get to the Savage Land, wait, we fucking time traveled? No, we didn't time travel. No. They see, a crashed X-Men jet, and then they realize Savage Land is, basically, the apocalypse happened. The Savage Land is basically where people who survived are having to they have to fight off dinosaurs, but nothing else can get there. So then you get more of another weird, fucked up world,
Yeah, exactly. I just think that would be kind of the just for like, it doesn't have to be for long. It could be literally a 5 or 10 minute scene where it just makes you feel like, oh, where did we time travel now? And yeah, no, it didn't happen like that. But we're just showing some kind of stuff off, and I think that would just be kind of cool to kind of happen. And once again, I mean, I know that's like sitting there in an armchair directing it, because I think the movie is actually still, for what it is, it's good. And I mean, I know that's probably how I feel about a lot of times in Marvel movies is. Just because I guess when just the content from whether it be the comic books or the cartoons or any of the excess stuff that's been around forever, you just feel like, oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless. And then it's mostly always like, well, wait a second, hold on. We got to do the simplified, version and, keep it easy going and so on. And even if we're going to confuse some people, we can't confuse everybody. I guess that's the thing,
I gotta wonder if the original, or at least what a version of the script, included America Chavez with the ability to control her power. Mm-hmm. Because if you really think about it, the way that the movie's presented with her character, she can't willingly, at will, travel between dimensions. So it makes sense when it is activated. It's and she goes through those portals. We get glimpses, and I'm sure when the film comes out on DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. There are going to be people who are going to be going frame by frame, analyzing each of those dimensions that we only see for like, a split second. And they're like, oh, that's the noir setting. Mm-hmm. And this is the 2099, setting. And this is this and that. Because, easily there was like, at least a dozen, different, backgrounds that we see. Yeah. And I'm sure each one holds a significance. When they were storyboarding this thing, each one was on purpose, not just, a random throwaway thing. But as far as her character goes, if they were to do a more universal travel, spend 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, how would you explain the ease of travel from one to the next? Because the idea was being stranded. That was the theme. That was the story plot. They're stranded. Mm-hmm. And so that, only going to 3 multiverses, there's only so many, times that you can get her to accidentally activate her power before she finally gets a handle on it. Yeah, and that doesn't happen till the very end. So it would be a very different movie if they were going from one to one to one to one, spending 5-10 minutes each. That would be that would be like a road travel movie. But at that point, you could only get away with it if she knew and could control her power.
I mean, I feel she could still have the thing where she doesn't know how to control it yet still. And like Doctor Strange was like, dude, just come on. Like, you can figure it out. And there's a traumatic event or whatever that happens in each, we piece together those story plots in these little dimensions here and there. And one of those ones, like something happens in each one, there's an action beat or something like that. And then she triggers it due to an emotional reaction or something like that. I mean, you could have it like that. I'm not saying that we're just saying add maybe like 2, or if you had 2 more areas in it, because that would give us 5, and 5 is a nice solid number. Just that little bit of extra.
Or it's like something she can activate it, she just doesn't know where they're going. So it's like
Remember too, the purpose of each multiverse there. Really, this is a Doctor Strange movie. Mm-hmm. It was to demonstrate and showcase the strange of that world, and the theme. At least what I got out of it was that in absolutely every timeline, Strange was not as virtuous as he would have claimed to be. That there was always a line that he was willing to cross for the sake of the greater good. The ends justifies the means. Mm-hmm. And so if they were to have visited, so every timeline, every universe they're in, the first thing is, okay, let's find the Strange in this universe. We need his help. It wasn't just... it was serving the story further. And then every time they do, Strange develops a new awareness of who he is by seeing who the other versions of him are. And it would have been fun to see more Stranges, mm-hmm. of course. But I think... with what they did show, it was enough to get the point across.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it delivers in what it is, and I know we're asking for more than like what they could have, and so on like that. And realistically, if I knew Doctor Strange's world more as far as like the comic books and so on, because I really only know him from the movies, that animated movie, and passing in other books, but I don't think I own a single straight up Doctor Strange book. So, but knowing that though, he's got to have all kinds of other stuff out there that he could almost travel through and see more even Doctor Strange oriented characters and villains and so on. Like you could have that kind of sprinkled even more throughout there too, if that's where these other like worlds that we're kind of going to and pulling stuff like that.
I don't think we're not done with the multiverse. I think, with his third eye and with this Vanessa character, I think her name was, at the end, the post credits.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's pretty clear that his multiverse, traveling days are not behind him.
No.
There's more to come.
Well, it's also going off what you said, because it is more of a Doctor Strange movie. I mean, they advertise it as an expansion of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which it is, but it is first and foremost about Doctor Strange. I think you could still have like, because this is a world where Doctor Strange died and he fucked everything up before he died. This is a world where he lived, but he's the only one who did live. I think there's one or two more you could have done. Maybe he wasn't there. Maybe the Ancient One was evil or whatever, and he never got found. Or maybe there's one where, I don't know.
He didn't survive the car crash, maybe even,
Yeah, I think there's plenty of things you could do for that. But
we got some of that in the What If series.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, the What If,
it's just a what if. What we have, we want the real if. No.
What if I didn't watch it? Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, I'll tell you, I didn't watch it. I'm not saying that I wasn't interested, but, like so many things in life, there's only so much time in the day for so much, and, just like, well, that looks cool, but, I'll just wait for Doctor Strange 2 to come out.
I just know that they didn't want to retread story plots that they've already done somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think there's more things they could have covered other than, like, what they covered in the What If show, or just didn't always have to be Doctor Strange, but could be the aftermath of something he did. And I appreciate, the movie doesn't have to be a 2-hour and 30-minute movie. I know nearly every Marvel movie nowadays is like 2.5 hours. But I don't know, I guess I just felt that the movie was a couple of things, like I said. For what, I didn't go in with a bunch of expectations, but I guess I just assumed it would feel a little chaotic, and it didn't feel that chaotic. It felt kind of like, oh, we're just trying to figure this out. Give us a minute, And then on top of that, it was like the whole thing with Wanda seemed a little forced and kind of retread things again. And for people who didn't watch it, like you, Spencer, you didn't watch WandaVision, it seemed kind of sudden. And for me, who did watch WandaVision, and James, it seemed like a retread. So it's kind of like, it's a little, I don't think Wanda's dead, and if she is, they could just pull out another Wanda, because I heard something that her contract's not done with Marvel. So it's very possible she lived, and it's very possible that they just might pluck another Wanda, like, oh, that one's dead, here, let's get this one. This one's cool and all right in the head. Bring your kids, sure, why not?
Well, that's just, now we have like the Deus Ex Machina thing, like, oh, we lost a character, whatever, there's another one out there we could just like purge.
To be fair, though, that's actually the whole like thing they came up with in Endgame. I think that is probably, if you are going to recast somebody or get someone in there, that's probably the best way to do it, because that way it doesn't delegitimize like Chris Evans, Captain America, or Downey's Iron Man. It's like, this is a different, their story is still their story. Here's another one over here. So if we need an Iron Man for our team, we got a young 20-something. Let's try something different now, I guess.
No, and I think that's the best part, is it works out extremely well for like the movies, because actors are going to get bored at some point, or they're going to pass away, and the thing is that, hey, you can keep the whole timeline going, but if you need to add another one in, boom, you can pull it out, and then if somebody doesn't like that one, you just go, it's an alternative universe one, whatever, there's another Iron Man out there you might like.
That's where I think they're going with the Secret Wars at the end. Because that would be the annihilation of all timelines, and there will only be one surviving one, and it will be a accumulation of everything, and that's would be the opportunity to recast characters, and actors who are ending their contracts, and still it basically it'd be kind of like Flashpoint. You know what DC is doing with Flashpoint. It's a way to reboot the series, but it's still part of the continuity.
Yeah.
I noticed that DC hits the reset button every like 5 to 10 years, depending how sales are doing. Marvel seems to hit the reset button on aspects of their universe. I mean, to be fair, I guess New 52 was kind of that. I mean, you know,
It just
like
depends on whose book it was.
Yeah, it depends whose book. How is this book selling? It's selling pretty good. A few things change. All right, she's no longer in a wheelchair. We're good. Okay, but it
Green
was
Lantern,
like one of those.
nothing's changed.
Exactly. So it's kind of one of those things where I feel like I don't know. Eventually, because it happens in comics. It happens in comics all the time. And it's going to happen with movies. Eventually, you're asking people too much to go back and follow everything. Eventually, this thing's going to get too bloated, and it won't be able to sustain itself. And the best thing to do is just to reboot it. Now, hopefully, they don't have to do that for another 10 or 15 years, but eventually, people are like, wait, what happened to Iron Man again? Wait, who was that? You know, eventually, they're just going to run out of stuff to go off of, and they're just going to have to reset it. At least that's my opinion, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Given the story arc of Wanda in the comics, I think it makes sense for her next move would be to give herself amnesia, because the grief is so much, the guilt so much, and there's a precedence to the comic too, where she forgets that she had children in the first place. And
House of M, kind of.
So I think if they did that with her now, and maybe bring in Doctor Doom, because he was a pivotal character in Secret Wars, and he could then, and Latvia and Sokovia are not far from each other, so there's a good chance that she's aware of who he is. Maybe he's obviously he's a very manipulative, powerful man, very intelligent as well. He could easily manipulate a amnesia Wanda, and she, of course, is trying to find ways to make amends or to live a normal life. And then he, knowing what she is, could use her power to do whatever nefarious plot deeds he has in mind.
Yeah, well, you know what that also kind of reminds me, it leads into, is now you could use the Wanda you pick from another universe, also can be, in this the same one the Doctor Doom comes from, that could be the Wanda where it literally is now Magneto's daughter. Get that in there, because Quicksilver's already dead, so now we can pull a brand new Quicksilver and now we can have the whole family arc of Magneto, Wanda, and Quicksilver.
Quicksilver's not dead. He got resurrected. He's
that's right.
He's Kraven now. He's Kraven. Kraven the Hunter.
Kraven, he's playing Kraven.
Oh, the actress. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, what movie did that happen in? Like, was that like Into the Spider-Verse scene I forgot about?
I mean, I know. The Punisher eventually became Ghost Rider, but I didn't know that Quicksilver became Kraven.
Wait a second, what are you talking about? Yeah, well, whatever. You can get a different actor for that too, and so on like that. But like the thing is, you could even just pull the actor from the X-Men movies, because that guy, I feel like everybody liked him anyways. You know,
they did that in WandaVision. It was a big joke. It was like they were talking about. They mentioned something offhand, like she can pull things from the multiverse. And then by this point, they're at the 80s sitcom. They knock at the door, and he's basically like a Fonzie type character. Like, yo, it's your big brother! And it's the guy from Quicksilver from the Fox movies.
Uh-huh.
And they have the studio audience cheer when he walks in, and then it's like, oh, wow. So, and then she's like, I don't know, I remember being shot, I remember being here, I remember being there, and now I'm here. I don't know what happened, but I'm your brother. That's all you need to know. And then all you find out is, oh, no, he's not. He's just, they're fucking with the audience. He's literally just a guy whose last name is Boner. And they gave him the abilities, and it's just fucking with the audience. He's just some guy who just happens to look like the other X-Men actor.
Yeah, it was a bait and switch.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even still, you can use that kind of to finally bring Wanda in, because that's what I think is, Wanda always felt like in the Marvel movies, she was kind of like chopped off of her like core origin, just being like, some kids we found out there, experimented on. Oh, okay, there we go. And it's like, oh, I mean, I know you can't use the Magneto thing, but it's kind of weird to be missing that ginormous plot point of her life, you know. But
Well,
now
also-
I feel like you can be like, oh hey, we had to go get a new Wanda, you know. What I mean, which one you want? I don't know. Just roll the dice. We'll figure it out. And then when they go to pick up a new Wanda, like, you know, I mean, hey Bruce, can you drive over to this dimension and pick up the new Wanda? Oh, well, I was working on some stuff. Bruce, you're the only guy left here, you know. Oh, okay. I know I'm the old guy, and you guys just don't want to give me serious jobs anymore. So now I'm just running out
My
being
arm
the
is still
carrier
in the
boy.
sling.
Yeah, it's just like one of those ones like, hey fella, you know, like I did do a lot in the last 20 years. Like, yeah, old man, just sit over there in the corner. You know, if we need you to get angry, we'll take away your prune juice. I'm not that old yet.
Why are we trying to piss off the Hulk? Why are we trying?
Oh no, it's kind of fun. But that's the thing is now you can have that in there. You have Magneto, you have the kids in there, you have Quicksilver back, all that kind of stuff, and just pull that literally from another dimension.
I guess there's a lot of things you could do. Oh, go ahead, James. Sorry.
Oh, what I was going to say could wait.
I guess you could do the thing. I mean, this is totally just. I think it's the easy dismiss, sweep it under the rug, no one will fucking notice. But I guess you could just do the thing, like, because they even have a flashback in WandaVision, because there's the whole monologue she gives in Avengers 2 about for 3 days we stared at a missile hovering over our heads that said Stark, and they actually show that scene in the in the show WandaVision. They actually show it, and the thing about it though is, I'm thinking like, well, you could do something like those were her adoptive parents, and then maybe Magneto comes in like, all right, Daddy's here. Where's the other one? You know, and they're like, they did what? Like, well, we already killed the robot. You know, oh, those motherfuckers. You know, so I feel like there's a lot of things you can do with that.
Yeah, there's so many ways you can go, and you know, whatever one works to get to the outcome that Magneto's there with kids, that's all it needs to be. Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
Magneto, I feel
we
like-
still don't know how Marvel is going to introduce the X-Men.
no.
Like, okay, we saw Xavier, sure, in you know that one Earth that they all got fucked up. But as far as 616, you know, which this Earth was designated, which is funny because originally it was designated with a different call number. Because
616 is
the comics,
Yeah.
the comics was 616. The MCU was like 1999999. Like it was just some other, you know, just random number. So they kind of retconned that now by saying that the MCU is 616. Anyways, my point going with that was mutants don't exist in this universe.
Mm-mm.
But we know they have plans on bringing in the X-Men in some way, shape, or form. There's rumors that Storm may make an appearance in Wakanda 2.
Mm-hmm.
That she may be a Wakandan, or you know, like from Africa, or is she Egyptian? I don't know. I'm thinking X-Men.
Well, she's from
Apocalypse, she was
Africa, but
Egyptian.
I think she's up north, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for at some period she's living in Egypt as a pickpocket at some point. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We may
yeah,
see Namor. I know he's not an X-Man, but he was. It's funny. Namor was one of the original members of the Illuminati.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Namor's one of those characters that, like, back in the day, is like one of the hugest characters, and he's just literally fell off the face of the earth after about the 90s.
It's kind of who gives a shit. He's Marvel. he's Marvel. Even though he came out first, he's kind of Marvel's Aquaman. And just like I like Aquaman way more because Namor has a very pompous kind of like I'm above this, even though I'm underwater. You know, so I'm just kind of like fuck
but
him.
I'm under.
Exactly, you know, and I just never gave a shit for Namor. So if he comes in, like I know they're gonna get to him eventually. I mean, I'll say this: my whole thing with Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. Hopefully they're lying. I don't know, but they said they're not recasting anybody for T'Challa. Which, don't get me wrong, Chadwick Boseman did a fantastic job, but I feel like T'Challa is too important of a character to just dismiss away. Or just say, he's dead, isn't that sad? I think they...
I mean, he died in the first movie, and they brought him back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he
And
died in the end game.
to kill him off. Yeah, and then to kill him off screen, it's just like, oh man, that guy just can't catch a break.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so it's kind of one of these things of like, to bring people in to Wakanda Forever, I think you're going to need more than, like, now Shuri's in the outfit. You know, I like Shuri as a character. I think she's good. Maybe she can get her own movie down the line. But she's not the Black Panther. The Black Panther is T'Challa. So, I don't know. They're going to need something big other than just, you know, like, in honor of Chadwick, where they're going to need something big. Like, oh, by the way, Storm. Oh, by the way, Doctor Doom is trying to invade Wakanda. They're going to need something like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the simple way to kind of go about it when introducing these new characters is just I mean, I know that they always want to have like the 10,000 other dimensions and so on like that, but that sometimes kind of just like overwhelms you. It's easier kind of be like, okay, here's this other dimension right here, just the second one. Let's just focus only on 2 of them. And on the second one, instead of having like the Avengers and all the characters you've already seen, this is where the Fantastic Four are. This is where the X-Men are. This is where Namor is. Well, he's below, but, you know. But, you know, you could start kind of putting all those characters in their own kind of world, and then you just have, like, literally, and this is what it's like when worlds collide.
You just want a movie to play that in a big
I want that just in the trailer. That's when, like, literally the 2 universes come together, as you have the, like, in a sense, like, literally, you know, they're not going to call it this, but it's like when Fox universe meets the Disney universe.
I just like the idea, like, how do we get Namor to come up above the water? Like, just, like, sprinkle some, like, you know, like, fish, some fish food.
He starts, like, nipping at them.
Ocean. Now piss on him.
Or he just takes that, too.
Just flops and swims away. Like, all right.
Here, throw that plastic top off of a 6-pack in there. It's funny when he gets caught in it.
And that's pretty... Those are the jokes that they used in The Boyz.
They do. Yeah, I guess it is. Well,
the Deep.
The Deep likes to fuck penguins. Yeah, or no, dolphins. There's the part where they come across, like, there's a beached whale. Like, he like, all right, Deep, what is it? Like, it's Sally. Like, oh, it's fucking Sally. Okay, great. Well, we got to get Sally back to the water. Like, oh my fucking god. Okay.
And let's bring it back to Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Sorry.
I knew going into it that it was going to be Marvel's, I guess, first horror movie. You know, Sam Raimi, obviously, you know, a horror director, and yeah, it wasn't a bloodbath like, you know, Evil Dead by any means, but it certainly, you know, did have quite a bit of violence, and you know, the cutaways. Like when Peggy Carter was, you know, cut in half. Yeah. Like, obviously, like, we know what happened. They just, you know,
you just don't see it
on screen. You just don't see it. That's the difference between PG-13 and rated R.
Yeah.
It's just where the camera is, what it's showing. But the actual act itself is intact, you know.
Well, Black Bolt, you see part of his head collapse in, but his suit's kind of covering it, so you just see the side of his head just kind of sag in the suit.
Yeah, like it deflates like a balloon. It's like, damn. So yeah, it was pretty epic stuff. I think I will not be taking my kids to watch this. My oldest just turned 13, so maybe I'll bring him.
Well, 13, I always feel once you're over the age of 10, that's when you can kind of start like deep diving into all that kind of stuff. But if you're under the age of 10, then it could be shocking.
Well, my oldest is a boy. He's 13, but below him I have 3 younger girls. And so I think I'll take him along. I know he'll be fine.
Yeah.
But my girls, I don't think they would be that interested to begin with. So that's all I'm saying. It's just the fact that this was, you know, when compared to the library of MCU movies, this one certainly is the most violent.
Yeah, I mean, depending if you want to go the full distance of Marvel, then you got, like, you know, the Punisher, like Warzone.
Oh, right, yeah. Those are, you know, TVMA.
Yeah, well, no, I'm talking about Punisher Warzone. That's pure rated R.
Oh yeah, but that's not MCU.
Yeah, no, but still, I mean, like, it's still Marvel.
Not yet.
Yeah. At this point, all this stuff I feel is a possibility to be connected to the Disneyverse.
Yeah,
they are talking about eventually doing. I mean, you kind of see Disney and Marvel take these, like, little steps which kind of build upon it. Like, you can see it, like, the way they do everything. Like, for instance, it's going to seem off topic for a second, but it's like when what was it? Avengers 2. It's just like, oh, look, a bad guy from Black Panther. Is Black Panther in it? No, but he's a bad guy from Black Panther. You can expect to see him later. Then we get to Ant-Man, and then we have a cameo from the Falcon in Ant-Man. And then from there, it's like, okay, now Doctor Strange is going to have a cameo in Thor 3. And not only that, Hulk is going to be the second fiddle in Thor 3. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of builds up from there. So I feel like that this right here, I think it kind of goes with their ratings as well. Because you look at it for a while, like, we're not doing anything R. We're not doing anything R. Well, the TV, MA, Netflix shit. Now we're going to allow that on Disney+. You have to type in a code to watch it, but we're going to allow the Netflix shit on there. So I feel like that's them kind of testing the waters and getting rated. Because they mentioned they want to make Deadpool 3 rated R, and they want to make a Punisher and a Blade movie both R. So hopefully we'll get there. And they are making Blade. We got our
first sex scene in Eternals.
There you did. So it's the baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
It still blows me away, though, that they actually put those the Netflix shows on Disney Plus. Because I really thought that Disney Plus was always going to be kept as, like, in a sense, a kid-friendly enough as far as PG-13 being the maximum. And it's funny that, like, oh, that's on there. Like, why don't you just throw that on Hulu? Where, like, you own that, too. Like, you could have just... I thought Hulu was going to be the place where you keep all your rated R material, and then you would keep, like, Disney Plus as, like, the sacred, like, kids can watch it, but... Because let's be honest, the second that's on there, I mean, just because there's a code, that doesn't mean anything.
The MODOK series is on Hulu, but not on Disney.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, because like that was there, so that's where I assumed that everything would just shuffle over there. Because I mean, once again, Disney owns all that, so.
I guess that's the slow lead-in, so they're getting to that. But on that note, I was when I heard this was going to be their first horror movie, I'm like, how much of a horror movie is this really going to be? And it's still, I think, first and foremost, a very MCU-style superhero movie. With sprinkles of horror, and it's kind of like the very beginning to like probably the third act. There's like moments of horror with like, you know, aside from visual stuff, there's like Wanda. The way she moves, she's basically a Deadite, only prettier. So because when she crawls out, there's even like a reference to Drag Me to Hell, when they're looking around and there's a reflection, her eye is wide open, like, they get away, you know. So there's all that kind of shit. And then when she crawls out of the reflection, her body all contorts and shifts back to regular, that kind of shit. And then the last act of the movie is basically more or less a straight-up horror movie because there's a couple of jump scares, and she's just kind of like all covered in blood, like limping, going after them down a hallway, and then like what? It's Zombie Strange. I'll be honest, I thought Zombie Strange was a cool twist. I kind of totally forgot about that by the end of the movie.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a neat one too when they pulled that out. It's like, oh, that's kind of a cool way to go, you know, and just have him just resurrect him in the other dimension, and then corpse walk all the way over there.
But even the way he was talking was kind of like how some of the Deadites talked in Evil Dead. It wasn't just like you have to, like they give a pause and he talk fast, and then kind of like you must use your power to stop it. You know, kind of like they have that kind of same speech pattern in some of the Sam Raimi movies.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it too, the Bruce Campbell cameo where he's punching himself. That's not the first time that he's had to fight against his own hand.
Exactly. I love how his name was Papa Pizza. I don't know why. I thought that was just like, oh, Papa Pizza here.
Well, it's also one of those things where this movie feels it's embracing some of the cheesiness and campiness because it's Sam Raimi, and I'm wondering if people who don't follow film that much and don't follow directors are be like, it seems a little cheesier and hokier than other movies. Like, well, it's Sam Raimi, so I feel like a lot of people won't appreciate that and won't latch onto that as much.
But it's kind of funny because there's actually way less comedy in this movie than most of the other like Marvel movies in the last while. Because that's what I thought was the one thing I was like, it's interesting. It's actually kind of toned down because that's always that's the biggest roll of the dice for me is like, are they going to make these movies like slapsticky or are they going to treat it serious? And other than there's a couple lines that Strange had that were kind of dumb. I felt they were just dumb because they came from Strange's mouth, and you're like,
the Spider-Man joke. No, does he shoot webs out of his butt? You know, I never asked.
Yeah.
I hope not, for his sake.
That one actually wasn't so bad, but there was one I remember when the Illuminati was like the Illumawati. I'm like, would a guy of that intelligence, if Ant-Man said that, I would be like, sure, that works. But Doctor Strange saying that, it's like made him just sound like he was. Sounded like he was like a moron. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, sir, you know what? Give back the rings. You don't deserve them anymore. You know what? We're gonna give it to the rightful owner. Like, I don't know what we were thinking. You know?
Give us the cape back.
Yeah. The cape even leaves in shame. Just turns, looks at him, just shakes its like the
Cowl.
part. Yeah. Whatever the collar part.
By the end of the movie, Strange is still not the Sorcerer Supreme. I thought that there would be some sort of a handoff, you know, and he reclaims that title. Mm-hmm. But no, you know, Juan is still the Sorcerer Supreme.
You know, it's easier just to be second in command. They don't have to do as much paperwork, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting Juan to be killed, you know, and therefore, hence the switch. The transfer of title, but I'm glad they didn't kill him off. I do like his character.
Yeah, because I feel like he's almost the guy that you expect to appear in the background of more movies than like anybody else almost at the like the last while.
Yeah, but he can hold his own.
Yeah,
he is a competent sorcerer.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, when they first get sucked into the vortex for the first time, I think, and then like you see him hit his head on the back of like a step or something, I was like, is that how you just killed Wong? I'm like, oh, he's still alive. Okay. I was like, please don't tell me that's how you kill Wong of all characters.
It's equivalent of slipping on a banana peel and falling down the stairs.
Like, woo! You hear like the bongo noises, and the stock sound effect of a cat or some shit. Yeah. No, like, yeah, I guess as these goes on, I mean, going off the comedy, like, there was not as much comedy, but what I mean by the hokiness is because there is... Evil Dead, as much as I love it, it's hokey and it's intentionally hokey. And I think I saw some of that when they were giving away exposition in this movie, when they're explaining things away. Because even though Marvel does force in comedy sometimes, I feel like there is this good balance of like having characters seem somewhat natural. I mean, there are those moments where it just goes on for too long, like in
Ragnarok.
My opinion, well, in parts of Ragnarok, yeah. In parts of, like, Infinity War, when it's Thor and the Guardians, and, like, they're just kind of it feels like they're improving lines for, like, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But, but majority of the time, I feel like a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the world they build around the MCU feels very contemporary and feels very natural for what it is. And it's just like, oh, this is just what life is now. Okay, cool. And they have a little bit of, like, funny dialogue here and there. Where this was like very much like, but you don't understand, the world will end and we must stop it because of evil dark magic bullshit, you know. And like like I get you have to get that information across, but I guess the delivery felt more like an Evil Dead movie, which I'm assuming was intentional. So.
Yeah, well, it gives it that sort of epic feel, that kind of slightly over the top, almost like if it was like a Japanese samurai flick. And I think I like. I mean, that might be cheesy to some people, but I like that kind of like delivery and so on like that. You know, I'm just glad that like it just didn't have a bunch of slapsticky lines, because that's the only thing. Like, because that's what really scares me about Thor 4 is that I just hope it's not going to be just Mel Brooks presents, you know, the Thor movie. And if it was Mel Brooks presents Thor, I mean, I think I'd take it more easily. But when it's supposed to be a serious movie, you're like, dude, come on, what are you doing? Like, don't have Thor's 2 steps away from slipping on a banana peel and falling down the stairs of a laugh track.
I'll be honest, I've kind of come around on Thor 3. Thor 3, I like it a lot more than when I first saw it. I think I can count on one hand the couple of like dumb lines or jokes that undercut a more important scene. Mm-hmm. Same thing with like Doctor Strange 1. But for the most part, I feel like Thor 3 was a pretty good movie. And I hopefully they don't undercut the more dramatic moments with like a joke like, it'll be a fertile ground for future. It explodes. Oh, never mind. You know, like that, especially near the end, that close to being the end of the movie or whatever. You know,
because it's like the Thor. You know, they played like the trailer for Thor 4. It's hard to say it like that, but it's one of them like that trailer looks really fucking good. You know what I mean? You know, but I just after Thor 3, I'm really afraid, and just the way that they've sort of treated Thor in the last while, they treat him like he's just the dumb, goofy joke character. It's like when I went and saw the Northman, I'm like, that's how Thor should have been. That's exactly the tone that the movie should have went with. It was like that was what I was expecting this whole time.
I think it's expect a comedy, just not as goofy. Sorry, James, go ahead.
I want to get your opinion on the Carbotage scene. I felt, you know, here you gather all the sorcerers from around the globe, all in one place, something that probably doesn't happen very often. And I was really underwhelmed with their ability to hold off Wanda. I mean, she was just kind of throwing energy blasts. It's like, that's pretty much it. It's just like red energy ball, red energy ball, red energy ball. And here you have all the freaking sorcerers on planet Earth.
I'm like, whoop.
And it's like, force field. And, oh no, the shield is down. And then they all just get, wiped.
And then she gets a hold of hippie Steve, and he just ruins it all. She's like, "Oh man, I'm gotta get out of here!" Just starts pushing people out. Like, God damn, we knew we shouldn't have invited that guy in here.
In the first, Doctor Strange movie, they gave the impression that sorcerers were, so powerful that, Mordo, has to cleanse them from the earth because that's how dangerous they could be. And seeing Wanda just take them all out, it's like, well, she just did his job for him, just in the span of 5 minutes. I was just underimpressed. I expected more from the sorcerers.
Well, that is the thing.
This thing. Going off what you said, Spence, just about the guy. Like, the one guy, she's like, what'd she do? She looks him in the eye, and then she sneaks behind him. Run. It's like, you weren't trained, you're sorcerers. You weren't trained to have somebody, stop you from being scared and getting into your mind. And she didn't even say anything too crazy. She's just like, run. That's all she said to him. And that's like, oh, this is why we don't recruit people at string cheese incident concerts, okay?
Well, that guy
sure,
right there.
they're already... He's on the psychedelic thing because he just dropped some DMT or whatever. But fuck, we gotta set higher standards. This guy, his hands were fucked up, but at least he was a doctor.
Yeah, because that guy, when I saw that guy, I'm like, that guy looks like one of those guys you'd run to a pizza party, be like, hey man, I'm going over to China the next week. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know, go train some martial arts shit or something like that. I don't know, I'm just doing my thing, bro. Just doing my thing. That's what that guy looked like. I'm like, how did he get in there? You know what I mean? They're like, oh, we had open enrollment for a moment.
They have a cow.
Yeah.
They had a cow.
Well, cow makes sense.
Where the cow come from? He's just like, oh, just the cow. He's probably a character from the comics, but just the idea, oh, this looks like a job for me. Hopefully, we can do this. Where the fuck did you come from, dude?
But I love at this point in the MCU, you just kind of roll with it. It's just it is what it is.
That was the first time we ever saw the fucking cow, though.
Yeah, but they don't need to explain it. Where was that guy
at when Doctor Strange was training there?
Yeah, so a cow taught me how to do a mind whip thing, which is fucking ironic because it was trying to teach me how to a cow was teaching me how to lasso some shit. Okay. But it's also what was it? There was I honestly feel James, I was very underwhelmed with the whole Wanda comes in oh wow, they're really moving on this quick, and she starts shooting laser blasts. I bet that's one of those things where Sam Raimi was like, God damn it, if only I could go I could come up with some really awesome deaths. I don't know, Wanda, all of a sudden Wanda's hand comes out of a guy's mouth and she splits him open and crawls out and does, I don't know, I could just imagine all the crazy...
Just twisting guys and contorting them just into pieces is because I think, the whole point is that Wanda's got this overpower now because of that book and so on like that, but just... You almost need rated R to show how powerful and how dangerous she has now become because of that. And to have it where she's just crushing and destroying people left and right, and just one of those ones where it's you thought these sorcerers they are all good, but now because of this ultra power, it's they can't even stand up to that.
I just thought of some crazy Lovecraft Sam Raimi shit. She could have. I think you could still maybe walk away with a PG-13 on this. And once again, this is just something. This isn't me saying do this, otherwise I'm gonna lower my score. But it's like you said, twist and contorts a bunch of dudes' bodies. They're all still alive and they're all still screaming, but they're all getting mashed together and twisted and wrapped. And you have this golem of sorcerers that she just basically
turns
assembled.
A spirit bomb, and they're like, oh no! There smashes the cow guy down with it or something.
Well, that even, or something where it's kind of she makes a monster out of contorted bodies of people still alive.
It just comes together and it's just so it'd be that monkey
Voldemort's
scene in Batman Ninja.
Kind of like that, but creepier and more well, actually no, that was probably more off-putting. But yeah, you know what I mean.
I was thinking Voldemort's throne from Harry Potter.
Like that, yeah. Where it's just basically a bunch of living people all twisted and contorted into something they're not. I think that would be pretty cool. But I mean, I mean, I'm gonna say that was probably two things. That was probably budget, and that was probably like the PG-13 rating getting in the way of what Sam Raimi could really do.
Yeah, because
As far as
I was say just because of all the dark stuff that happens later, it's like whoa, you gotta like we can only have so much dark per movie.
Yeah.
you got to save the best for last.
Yeah,
Which I think they do. The zombie part was awesome.
Now, for as powerful as the Darkhold is, it was kind of surprising that it was so easy to destroy with just stabbing it with a knife. I mean, sure, you know, it takes your life, you know, in the process, but that's it. You just stab it with a knife, and it goes up in flames.
hey,
It didn't have like a protective spell around it or anything, you know.
Well, I felt like she had to put a lot of energy into that. It was no normal knife stab would just work. You had to do you had to put all sorts of effort into that. It was a very
All
mental.
kinds of magic stabbing.
Yeah, it's a magic stabbing thing there. You know, and then you know, it's one character we haven't really mentioned yet who's kind of in there for a moment, which I actually thought he was going to be actually more towards the end, and then it's like, oh no, he's in the beginning. But is what's his name, Somuro Goro or whatever, the guy from Marvel vs. Capcom. That's the best way I can think of it.
Yeah, they changed his name due to some weird rights shit. I mean,
Yeah,
thought that was
because I think,
Marvel's.
because is he a spin-off character of X-Men universe?
I think he's more Doctor Strange.
Maybe he is Doctor Strange. Because as I said, like I mean, I really know him more than anything else from straight up just like Marvel vs. Capcom and any of that kind of stuff. But
Looking up aspects, because I was curious, because I can never remember his name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about. I think he's kind of more of like even though he's got links to Doctor Strange and Cthulhu type shit, I feel like he's meant to be like the Marvel's version of Starro, more or less.
Well, I mean, that's
Because
definitely
whenever
how
I
they
see
treat him.
Whenever I see him in the comics, because in the game he's the size of a person, but whenever I see him in the comics or in art, he's always like a giant squid thing that everybody's fighting at once. So, you know, I think it's something kind of like that.
I mean,
He was in the Marvel's What If series in a few episodes, actually.
Yeah.
does he talk in that?
No.
Okay, I didn't know. I couldn't remember if that character talked or anything like that because it's one of those ones. As I said, I'm basing it all off the game more than anything else. I do think it's cool that he's in there at least, if anything. But for some reason, I was actually expecting him to be almost more towards the end. Is like, oh, that's going to be like the big villain at the end, and it's like, oh, well, there he is right there at the very beginning. Huh? How about that?
The trailers were misleading.
Well, I saw him, I saw like Zombie Strange, and I didn't think that was Zombie Strange. I assumed that was just a Doctor Strange villain I didn't know, and I assumed that was going to be the main villain. That or evil Doctor Strange, who I assumed to be the same one from What If, but a different one. Same thing. I'm assuming that's also a different Peggy Carter that got cut in half, too.
Yeah.
Go back and watch some of the trailers, and you'll see that some of the shots they use, Wanda is clearly the villain, but in the trailers, you see her walking with Juan. You see her. It's not clear from the trailers that she's actually, you know, evil.
No.
So that's kind of the twist there, going into it.
Yeah.
Having watched What If, and seen Zombie Strange, and then there's also like, you know, the shot where Wanda, looks like she's walking down the hallway. She kind of looks like a zombie. I was expecting one of the universes that they visited would have been from the What If series, because that's the zombie universe. And so I thought like, oh well, these characters were pulled from the zombie universe. And so the whole time in the beginning, when you see Defender Strange, the one with the ponytail, and he gets killed, or he gets, he gets stabbed by the paper monster, the book pages monster, something out of Skyrim. And I was expecting the whole time, okay, he's gonna rise up, he's going to come back, and I was like, where is he? Because I was expecting the zombie, to come up. So I was expecting it, but I admit I did forget about it at some point. And then when they brought him back, I was like, oh, that's a clever way of doing it. But then it had nothing to do with the What If series, and that, because it wasn't really a zombie. He was just a reanimated corpse.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's still fits in the zombie category, reanimated corpse.
Yeah,
you're not really a zombie,
It wasn't a pathogen. It wasn't a virus. There was no,
no voodoo,
nothing contagious.
You know, it wasn't like he was, you know, coming out like, you know, God, I was going to say, what are those puppets that are all hooked up to like the strings? The
Marionettes.
Yeah, marionettes. It's not like he's like, well, it's not really the same, but you know, kind of that kind of category. But you know,
Go ahead, James. Spencer. Sorry.
Oh, you go ahead, Ryan.
I'm wondering what they're gonna do because they keep on talking about we're gonna have a heavy emphasis on multiverses for like this era of MCU, and I'm thinking about that. Like, okay, Loki had an emphasis on multiverses and has this whole thing like, oh my god, the structure, it's finally broken. What have we done? You know, and then Spider-Man No Way Home's like, people are coming through. We can't stop it. And then this one happens right here. And nothing's connected. I keep on expecting something to have some major connection. I mean, yeah, Doctor Strange was in the last Spider-Man movie, but they are all very separate from each other on, like, you know, these are just different situations with the multiverse, and nothing's collided or connected. I'm sure they will eventually. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, I just hope they don't lean too much into the multiverse shit. I mean, I'm assuming the next Ant-Man movie is going to do that, because Kane is going to be in that, and Kane came at the end, or a version of Kane came at the end of Loki. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming it's all going to eventually connect, but I really hope they don't milk that now here's an evil version of this character, and now here's a good version of that character. I really hope they don't pile on the multiverse shit, because I overall, I mean, there's a whole statement Martin Scorsese said about the MCU. Keep in mind, Scorsese's one of my favorite directors, but he said, like, I don't view him as cinema. I'm like, well, I mean, regardless of how I don't blame you if you don't like it.
That's literally what probably an 80-year-old person said about Martin Scorsese in the 70s. Well, I don't view him as cinema, but...
Yeah, it's like one of those things like, look, I love Martin Scorsese. I'm gonna see every movie he comes out with, but that is a stupid fucking statement. And he says, like, look, people who made these things are talented and creative, and they deserve praise for that, but this is more of a theme park ride than actual cinema. I'm like, well, that's a dumb fucking statement. However, if you keep on regurgitating alternate variants and costumes, it's after a while it becomes like, oh, I'm playing Street Fighter. I pushed the wrong select button. Reuse green now. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, I don't want them to pile on too much of the multiverse shit. Do it once in a while. Make it fun, make it cool, make it connect to the grander story. And there is enough here to call it cinema. There is enough of a connective tissue and, like, you know, the drama and the storytelling for it to be cinema. But it's also, like, just don't rely on the multiverse shit too much, you know?
Yeah, well,
Benedict Cumberbatch was interviewed, and he said at one point he wasn't even sure if this was a Doctor Strange movie. And he was not sure if his character had enough of an arc to justify the movie. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of the reshoots came in. So I think the original version of the movie was going to be more emphasis on the variants and the cameos and all those things. And I think Benedict was unhappy with what was happening, because he felt like basically his movie was being hijacked.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it would be like a Captain America 3 thing, because that's kind of like, it's called Captain America 3, but let's be honest, that's more of an Avengers movie than anything else.
Yeah, I almost feel like Captain America 3, Infinity War, and Endgame are almost kind of like their own movies to some extent. What I mean by that is, I feel like rather than calling that Captain America 3 and then Avengers 3 and Avengers 4, I feel like they almost call those the war movies. Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame is End War. I don't know, something like that. I almost feel like that's what those are. I feel like those are more connected. Those three movies are more connected than, like, other, you know what I mean? But
yeah, no, I totally know what you mean. And then I just wanted to touch on that multiverse thing, because I will say, like, realistically, the multiverse type stuff is generally not always my... Like a lot of times I kind of like when there's a solid concrete, like, no, one world, one choice, one life, that's it. You know what I mean? No continues, no reset button, no Deus Ex Machina stuff going on here. But then at the same time, there is neat things you can do with a multiverse where you can have these alternative versions of characters. Like, I mean, I always like a what if story. Like, I love when DC would always do like, hey, here's this, like, you know, it's like Gotham by Gaslight. You know, it's like it's just a one-off, you know, strange little like story. Boom, there you go. And as far as movies go, it's kind of cool. Like, you know, it's like Spider-Man. It's cool that you can have it where like, here we go, we're gonna bring in the other movie variants just to have, and like. That's kind of cool and a fun way to sort of do it, but you got to be careful when you get this because the multiverse leaves too many, in a sense. It can fix certain problems, but then it can make things just too easy also at the same time, too.
It removes consequence.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, too, it's kind of like, before I read comics, you know, because I didn't start reading comics till high school. Whenever I would pick up a comic book, just about a sheer coincidence, because, you know, I'd hear like, oh, in the comics, fucking Wolverine got his fucking arm cut off, and he and Cyclops hate each other, and oh yeah, and fucking Robin got beaten to death with a crowbar, you know, I'm like, what? I just saw him on TV the other day. Well, the comics, he's fucking dead now, you know, and then like,
I saw him on TV the other day, and he looked fine to me.
Yeah, exactly. And then like I would pick anytime, half the time I'd pick up a comic with no context, and I'd be at Barnes and Noble because I always wanted to get into comics, but just to know where to get on. I'm like, oh, Ultimate X-Men. This looks like fun. Flip through a few pages, and granted it was a Danger Room scenario, and I didn't realize that. But like, you see Wolverine like snap the neck of Cyclops, then uses eye beams to blast a hole through like Jean Grey, and like kills Beast. I'm like, I thought they were friends, and then put the book away, and
You're
then
not
like
wrong,
you know,
Bob. He's talking to me now.
then I grab like a copy of like Dark Knight Returns. Like, everyone says this is a really good book. I flip like, why are Superman and Batman fighting each other? You know, so there's always this movie is basically that, where it's kind of like you think about like, because without the context and without realizing, oh, it's a what if, or oh, they Deus Machina this at the end or whatever, it's kind of like, oh, look, it's Reed Richards. Oh, no, it's not, you know? So it's kind of like, I imagine, like, at least people have the thing of, like, all right, it says blatantly for you, this is a multiverse. So, you know, get ready. Mm-hmm. I do appreciate, though, they said, like, Fantastic Four, didn't you guys disappear in the 60s? I'm like, okay, so you're laying the foreground, so maybe they got lost into like a time vortex, and maybe it's going to take place in the 60s, which would be interesting, you know?
Well, yeah, because that's the kind of cool, you could almost, that you bring that up, that actually could make for, I mean, I know we're going to run on more tangents and so on, probably should start wrapping it up, but you could almost do it where you have the alternative universe, and actually you could use X-Men and Fantastic Four, and it takes place in the 60s, and they pull those guys into the regular, you know, the modern day MCU universe. That could almost be kind of, because then it would change it up, because then it makes it feel like, well, it's not connected to the Fox one. This is why we have a brand new lineup of stuff. And even if it has that 60s going into 70s, well, then you can include all those characters in there. It's not saying you can't make a 60s version of a more, like Gambit could be a 60s version character. Like, why not? You know what I mean? You could have that stuff in there. But that could be kind of a fun way to do it, just to change it up, because now you got some period piece movies, and here you go, here's something a little bit different, and those can be those movies that kind of come out, and it's not just in that same old universe, but then you bring them together once the big stuff starts to happen.
Or you could do kind of like, go ahead, James, sorry.
You'd be pulling another Captain America, where you basically time freeze them, and, you know, thaw them out, or bring them, you know, from the time lost in time, so that they're still young.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and something
chipper,
because it's almost that thing. Well, Captain America gets pulled from like the 40s. Well, we pull this, you know, pull X-Men and Fantastic Four from the 60s. You know, and I just feel like then you could just really keep them in, like, you could give them just a completely different kind of. You can go really like hardcore into like full X-Men look and so on like that, because you'd be like, oh, it's 60s, so they can have those more brighter outfits and so on like that, and make it feel like more like that's part of it.
Unlike the last X-Men movie, where they all looked like they were just kind of like discount Star Trek costumes, more or less.
Yeah, but Psylocke is the only person that got a regular costume. Everybody else got screwed over.
But on that, at the same time, there's also you could also do something to the effect of like, oh, this one takes place in the 60s, and by the end of it, Galactus is destroying the world. Like, how they overlook this in the history books, and the world does get fucking destroyed. Only people to get out are the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And then it's like they come into the MCU, and then like, oh, so we were watching a different universe this whole time, and it ends with them in the MCU, and then they're like, oh, our Fantastic Four died back in the 60s. So, and then maybe out of that, you can get the Maker, which Maker is an evil Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe. So, I know I'm jumping ahead here. I'm just saying there's options. There's options.
The possibilities are endless.
So we know that the Fantastic Four is in the works. Unfortunately, John Watts did step down as director. But fortunately, he did recently confirm today that he will be directing Spider-Man
4.
I'd hate to say Spider-Man 4 because it makes it think like, oh no, Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire, they're coming back. No, it's the next Tom Holland Spider-Man.
So
movie.
Spider-Man 4 of Tommy's universe, Tommy's world.
Right. So that where I'm going with that though is Fantastic Four is in the works. It's going to be an MCU movie. Do you think John Krasinski will be reprising his role, or do you think they're going to recast him? Do you think that maybe because I feel like that casting was in response to the fan demand, and this was their way of giving us what we wanted without committing that actor to the character for the official MCU release.
I think you can go either way.
Yeah, I'm fine if he is. I mean, it's like one of those ones I'm like, I only know that guy really is Jack Ryan, so it's like I'm like decent fella, but I mean, like I'm not like it's. I don't feel like it's like, oh my god, if it's not him, it's nobody. You know what I mean? It's not one of those ones. It's not like Patrick. If you chose somebody other than Patrick Stewart in 2000 for like Professor Xavier, you'd be like, what are you doing? It's not one of those kind of choices. I feel like if he is cool, I liked him as that. I thought that was a neat choice. He just needs a little white side things there. I mean, I know Doctor Strange does. It's like, I bet you that felt like was a Benedict Cumberbatch was like, no, only one guy gets the cool little white sides going on there, and you're not getting it, Mr. Fantastic Four, Reed Richards.
Yeah, I think there's.
But I had him first.
Yeah. Rogue walks in. What about me, sugar? And then like, but then like, because she has a little like white. Does she have a white? Yeah,
she does. Because
so
you got to absorb somebody to get that. She's got this on the side.
Bride of Frankenstein shit. Yeah, no. But like, there's that. And we'll wrap this up soon. There's that. I saw a headline somewhere, I didn't click on it, that John Krasinski is directing Fantastic Four, but it could have just been like part of the headline, then cut off, and you click it, you see the full headline, so I didn't click it, but because he directed and starred in Quiet Place, so I mean, he can direct, so
well, Quiet Place is interesting, but
and the fans wanted to recruit his wife to play, Mrs.
I like
Emily Blunt,
the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm. Yeah,
but I read also somewhere that she refuses to play a superhero.
Yeah,
she seems like that because I hate to say it, when you get those kind of like actors and actresses, they're the kind of ones that look down on the superhero stuff. Like, oh, that's the low end of cinema. She's probably in that Martin Scorsese. I hate to say, I'm not saying it's necessarily. I mean, everybody can have their own opinions, but she's probably in that Martin Scorsese thing, sitting there with like a bunch of the other 80-year-olds being like, oh, superheroes.
Not that I know her. But she doesn't rub me that way because she is in a lot of genre and she's in a lot of sci-fi type stuff. I feel like she's just like...
Well, yeah, because she's in a manga movie, so...
Yeah, she's like, I don't want... I think
that's
she's
literally
just like,
a comic book movie, let's be honest.
I don't think she looks down on superhero movies. I think she's just like, I don't want to be contracted to MCU for 12 fucking years. I got a kid. I got to do this. I want to do... because she's,
Because it does cut you out of other movies.
And then plus it's some, Sue Storm who walks around like in a blue jumpsuit the whole time. I mean, I gotta fucking, everyone else could fucking like, I gotta fucking be in a blue jumpsuit being like fit as fuck in my 50s. Fuck that, I feel like after a while, I was like, I just want to live. I'm guessing that's probably what it is,
Right. So in the Fantastic Four movie, if it's going to be an origin story, then they're going to have to recast younger actors. Otherwise, if they pull John Krasinski, he's already a seasoned Mr. Fantastic. He already has children. We haven't seen that with any of the other Fantastic Four movies. But at the same time, like, I don't want another origin story. We've already had two of them.
Technically,
we don't need an origin story. We don't need another origin. Or we could just jump in and they could just. They don't need to have kids right away, but like they've been doing this shit for a while. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be.
Well, I feel Fantastic Four is just one of those ones you just jump straight into it. Like, you know what I mean? If you need to, just to catch people up, you have that like quick 5-minute like catch up section. But like beyond that, like you just get the ball rolling. And I think Fantastic Four should go ballsy right off the top. It should start going into weird like dimensions. It should start going into outer space. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. I think you got to go as hardcore Fantastic Four as possible. And I think people will be like, oh shit, this is amazing. If you do it light, they're gonna be like, oh, it's just a bunch of 50s bullshit again. But no. If you just go, you go almost Guardians of the Galaxy with it, be like, oh shit, we're going all over the place with this. But now we're going to other dimensions and stuff like that. And if it's kind of crossed in with the X-Men, I think people will even be like even more happy with that. Like I think that's the way to sort of run that Fantastic Four movie.
It just opens up there.
There's a chance that we'll get the Spider-Man cameo because Tom Holland is due for one more cameo for Phase 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's speculation that it'll be in Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that goes together right there because, you know, I always feel that's the New York section of characters. That's the X-Men, that's Spider-Man, Daredevil, you know, Fantastic Four.
And, you know, John Watts was the original director.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of just like, you know, Marvel Studios logo and then abruptly cut. It's just like 2001 Space Odyssey, like wormhole, and then you just see the Fantastic Four and the Fantastic Car just like blaring like space trucking by Deep Purple, just
or like the theme song that's literally like in the 90s cartoon of Fantastic Four. It's like, just call the Four, Fantastic Four.
Like Reed's drinking and driving. Fucking Ben is doing lines of cocaine off the dashboard. Like, let's fucking do this! Like, man, they went in a real new direction.
Well, that's the other thing. You could really treat Fantastic Four and give it a heavy metal vibe, and I feel that would actually work really well in its favor. Like, it sounds funny, but I think that would actually be really cool.
Open up on Cheap Trick.
Correct me.
What are they doing?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Peter or Spider-Man good friends with Johnny Storm?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, he's friends with like all the Fantastic Four because those ones always intermingle a lot more than other stuff.
There's a minute where I think Johnny Storm was dead for like 3 days or whatever, and Peter Parker was a new member of the Fantastic Four for like a minute, just for a minute.
Yeah.
That may have been some Elseworld shit. Who fucking knows?
You never know this day and age, But yeah, well, as I said, this can lead us down so many more rabbit holes, but maybe we'll just leave it off with some questions and intrigue and thought and all that good stuff and call it a day right there, you know. But yeah, looking forward to all this stuff coming out. I'm looking forward to even that Thor 4. God, it's so hard to say off the top of my tongue. But Thor 4. But there's all kinds of neat stuff kind of coming here. I like to see where this goes. I think it's actually going in a really cool place. You know what I mean? I think we're just going to get all kinds of characters you just don't expect. It's going to give other people more screen time just because you cancel out big characters to bring out other new characters, and next thing you know, they'll be big characters. So I think that's just going to be fun stuff to be had. But beyond all that good stuff, any shout-outs you want to give out there, James?
Funny, every time we review a Marvel movie, we spend most of the show talking about what happens next, as opposed to what just happened.
Yeah,
we're never in the present. We're always in the past or in the future, looking ahead.
That's good.
I blame Marvel. They just drop so many little Easter eggs throughout every movie.
Yeah, it just gets you curious no matter what the whole way through. But yeah, I mean, overall, I still think this movie was quite fun. I enjoyed it a lot, like pacing whole way through. It is a good ride. I mean, it does kind of just, I guess you're just open to the Multiverse of Madness and you to see even more. And I don't know what it is, just kind of has that like where you feel like you're going to see more. And I feel like that's a Marvel movie thing in general. I feel like that with like 90% of Marvel movies. I always feel like there's still a little bit of like this pocket. Like I still enjoyed the movie, but there's a pocket of me that's like, oh, but you could have done this and could have done that. I mean, not just to say, I mean, but at the end of the day, whatever, the movie's fun, definitely worth seeing. I would say as far as when you have kind of the secondary run movies, as far as like this one kind of fades that in between being like one of like the main ones like you kind of have to see to be one of the side shoot movies. I still thought it was actually one of the top tier ones of that.
I thought it was really fun. I don't know if it's a top tier for me, but I thought it was a really fun movie.
Yeah.
I was surprised at the end to see the credits for the music was Danny Elfman. Like, oh, he's still composing.
still paying his salary. I mean, yeah, okay, cool.
Still with Sam Raimi.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, as I said, all kinds of cool stuff. But beyond that fun stuff, If you want to check out more of our good stuff, you can always go to oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comic books like Pizza Boys, all that other fun stuff. James, where can we send people to find all your artwork?
You can find me on DeviantArt and Instagram, Facebook, most of the socials. My handle is James Artville, just one word. And then, of course, Ryan and I, we're on Octorok Talk, and you can find us on Instagram as well.
You can also find it on oldmanorange.com. It's on there. It's on the podcast section.
And Spotify and all that, yeah.
So, yeah, we got all that good stuff. So, yeah, more fun times ahead. But till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunnigan, and our special guest,
James Artville.
And we'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.